How's it going, YouTube? In this Play and Explain, you're gonna see a couple of hands but mixed with post-session studies. If you wanna know how you can improve your game studying the situations in Pot Limit Omaha, then stay tuned. And Ree still here with the King 10-9-8 double suited. Here you want to be careful that you don't do the very lowest double suited ones, because in a resource situation you want to focus a little bit on high cardiness. Let's have a look at this pre-flop situations where you're asked the question whether you want to re-steal a hand. Now, King 10-9-8 double suited is going to be in the double suited section. If you go to the King 10 version here, as I said, double suited on top right, and then click on here, you can see all the double suited hands that you want to 3-bet from the small blind against the button. However, when it comes to lower hands like the 7, 6, 5, 4 double suited, you actually want to just cold call those hands, because as a re-steal they are just too low suits, and if you build the pot making a 3-bet and then you flop one of those suits, you just get it in against with a pair and a flush draw against the higher pair and a flush draw often enough for it not to be so great. Obviously, when there's mediocre rundowns, you still want to 3-bet those, but not just go too fancy. And when it comes to offsuited rundowns, you can see that 10-9-8, 7 single suited is not 3-bet, and then check 10-9-8 with a good suit is the only combinations that 3-bets from the single suited versions. So this is how we want to go about small blind versus button re-stealing. Check call or check raise, both could be fine. So I went into Monker after the session, typed in the hand. As you can see that our hand, King 10-9-8, with these exact suits, no backdoor flush draw, is going to be checked some of the time and going to be bet small for a third. Some other times here the sim is just going to be for third betting. Why? Because, well, third betting can easily get value from weaker hands, and it also, when you do have the blocker, you get a cheap bluff. For example, when you have some interesting spade cards, or 10s with one spade or 8s with a spade, or just Queen 10 with maybe the nut flush draw, then betting a third and then getting some hands to fold that don't connect at all but have equity against your hand is a very great outcome. So it makes a ton of sense to just bet small out of position and either build a pot for your strong hands for some of your hands, or just get a cheap bluff through and make your opponents not having to fold that much. Once I check and my opponent's bets, it's again, the Monker would actually do a little bit of both, check raise, check call, or check raise some of the time. So it's definitely an interesting board. Those straightening boards are not that easy to play, especially when you have weakish hands. And you have to be careful that, you're going to have at least some good hands also once in a while, once you check call the flop. So your opponent cannot just, bet tons on the turn. Well, the way you can also defend on turns is basically that you have combo equity, like a King 10 plus spades, which you probably would without a straight check raise a lot. Let's actually test that real quick. Let's make that 8 of hearts. Let's actually give us spades. And let's have a look at how we start to begin with anyway. So if we have King of Spades, Queen of Spades, Jack of Clubs, 10 of Clubs, we would actually always bet. But let's change that to the Ace of Clubs, then we would always check. Let our opponent bet, and then you would check raise. Here we have just a 50% check raise sizing, but yeah, that is just check raise to stack off basically, because we have none of that equity in the forms of King Queen of Spades, but also we have a top pair, and then we're not really ready to check call and play some turns, because whenever your opponent has just a bare nut flush draw or something on the line of that, he's always going to get paid. So we have some reverse implied odds, and the the equity of just a jack. We might just fold the best hand a bunch of times against blocker bluffs, and we rather want to just get all in with our combined equity in this situation. So it's a very complex board whenever there's a board featuring a straight and a flush draw. These strategies are quite complex, and working with Monker has really revealed a lot of some overlying principles that you have to work out after your session in these studies. I'm gonna go with the check call. Checks it back. On the river we have a spade, which is obviously not great. Queen 10 gets there, and the spades as well. And we obviously have a lot of other spade hands in our range that we could have check called, so let's again back this up, this statement that I made in this play and explain video. Do we have a lot of spades I could have check called? Well, as you can see that we have 23% of, like 23% of the time we have a spade draw, and then about half the times we're gonna check call. When you have put it into perspective of your overall check call range, you can see that you're check calling 34% of the time, and about a third of the time, when you divide that into half, 11%, we're going to have spades. So given that the king of spades is removes some of these combinations, but a lot of the king of spades hands also, I believe, they're also check raising unless they have the ace of spades in it. But without the ace of spades, the check call frequency of a king of spades is diminished. So the fact that the king of spades rolled off on the river also, doesn't remove nearly as many spade draws, because a lot of them is going to be ace of spades hands that want to check call. Either here just the weakest ones that check called against a half pot sizing, but would also, I think, check call against a slightly bigger sizing. And yeah, so we can definitely have some of that in our range. And just to back that up, in the end, we have an easy fold, because the river mistakes that you can be making, even if in case you get called, are going to be smaller. I don't know anything about him. I think it could go either way. I'm going to actually 3-bet bluff this hand. Usually I would be calling, or very deep, and I think I'm still going to dominate quite a bunch when he just calls. And I like the ace jack 10 combination and the nut suit here for a 3-way pot or a multi-way pot equally. The only thing that I don't want to happen is like a 4-bet. He gets there with a top set. I mean, he has a top set and decides to check raise all in. Let's actually check that 3-bet in a tool called PLOmatrix.com. It has the cheat here ranges that are based on Monker and will make you suggestions on what you should be doing pre-flop in this game. You can see that we're 3-betting the cutoff versus cutoff on the button, and we're going to check for, here we had ace jack, and we have single suited. Here are the double suited hands on the top right, and on the bottom left the single suited one. So we have ace jack 10, so click on ace jack. And then we have all the possible combinations with ace jack. The good suits which we had a suited ace, are going to be on here, and the worst suits are going to be down here. So when it's suited to a jack or a 10, it's going to be on the left, and on the right it's going to be suited to an ace. So now we have ace jack 10 6, and you can see here 10 6 are the side cards to ace jack, and that means when it's green you can see that it should have been a call, and when it's red it should have been a 3-bet. So I should have 3-bet with the 7, but called with the 6. Why is that the case? Well, one of the reasons is definitely against the 4-bet. Against aces, we have 34% of equity with the 7 and only 31.55% of equity with the 6. The disconnectivity here is really important because you can make less reps with the 6, and with the 7 you can basically stack your opponent with a lot more also polarized equity, because you're gonna smash the flop, and that's what you really want to do in 3-bet pots a lot more often, where you basically form a stronger draw, which you cannot do with the ace jack 10 6 nearly as much. You can flop some strong draws, but not those 8-9 high boards where you have a wrap and then maybe a backdoor flush draw and then can stack your opponents, and your equity is just more defined while having that additional connectivity. So with that out of the way, I hope that helped you guys a little bit understand why this is the case. And let's go back into some more hands. Ace jack 9 7. I'm going to flat in the cutoff and button. Some connectivity here. If I had a little bit less, I would just fold it. I'm going to fold with the 3 diamonds in MP on the right. And gonna let this go. Let's have a look at the ace jack 9 7 single suited. And as you can see here, that if we had a slightly stronger hand, a slightly more connected hand, even when it wasn't suited to the ace, we would be 3-betting this hand against an MP open. So we though have ace jack 9 7, and you can see it's a call. So this was played according to the GTO ranges that I have. So you always want to check a little bit on whether you make those correct flats in these positions or whether you're way off, and you should work on that area of your game. By the way, you can find that again on PLOmatrix.com. Subscription is $29 if you want to fix your preflop ranges. It's also going to be in the description below in this video. The content from this video has been highly inspired by JNannesPoker.com Mastermind course. You can find that on JNannesPoker.com for $29. You can get in there until the end of April for $29 to get 2 months of exclusive content. Learn with me on Pot Limit Omaha. Get in there, and then see you guys in the Mastermind. Thanks guys for tuning in, and if you like this video and you found some value from it, don't forget to hit the like button down here and subscribe to the channel somewhere here when the video pops up. If you want to know more about Pot Limit Omaha in the future, then stay tuned on this channel. I'm going to see you guys for the next one.